Innovation has many fathers and mothers. Tesla was definitely one of the fathers.
Tesla was an extraordinary inventor and scientist.
Tesla gave us alternating current, our main electrical grid around the world. Electric motors, electric generators. The ideas of free energy.
Oh, it looks like a bad one.
Tesla had that passion to create new things nonstop, no matter how crazy they were.
What is a genius? I think the term is way overused. I think Tesla fits the bill because he didn't just invent one invention in one area, he was in many different areas. So he really was a genius. He drew a lot of strength in feeling that he had planted seeds and that he knew eventually a lot of his ideas would come to fruition.
He really sacrificed a lot of his life. He didn't hook up with anybody and get married, didn't have children. But in a way, over the decades that have passed, there are many people that you could call the children of Tesla. They have the same drive and conviction and intellectual curiosity that Tesla had. And because they're willing to pursue their vision and dreams, despite being told by others that you can't do it.
I would be honored to even consider myself as a child of Tesla.
I almost feel like I'm related to him, or like, sometimes I say, maybe he was reincarnated in me. Maybe it's my job to pass along that message.
As a reporter at the Toronto Star, I was asked to go to St. John's to report on the anniversary of Marconi sending the first wireless communications across the Atlantic. And as I was doing research in preparation for that, I started to come up with information saying that, well, maybe it wasn't Marconi, maybe it was this guy named Tesla. And I started to dig more into Tesla, and I found his life dramatically more fascinating than Marconi.
Well, the first time I heard about Tesla, I was working for Countrywide Publications. And I went down to New York City to write an article. And I got a book out on this guy, and his name was Nikola Tesla. And I thought, how could any one person invent all these different things? And I never heard of him.
So we do take for granted a lot of the things that he's behind: neon light, fluorescent lighting, plasma physics and fusion.
Remote control, robots, helicopter airplanes, particle beam weapons. And I found out that he had patents on the induction motor, on the hydroelectric power system, on wireless communication.
Today, we walk around with these devices, and most people, 99.9% of people, don't know that a big portion of the inspiration behind that is Tesla.
A lot of people never even heard of Tesla, so I'm trying to get the word out that this guy existed. He shouldn't be known as the forgotten inventor. He should be known as one of the greatest men that changed the world for the better. That's what I'm trying to do, change the world for the better. A lot of people might say, you set your goals too high, Paul, but those are the things successful people ignore. Some guys, they take a shower and they have an idea and they get out and dry themselves off and go on with life. I'm in a shower, I have an idea, I get out and I do it. I do experiment after experiment. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing next. Just as Tesla did, we have to take step by step by step and use scientific methods to see what we want to do next and improve on that. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're taking electromagnetic radiation and transforming it into usable energy, usable electron energy.
It's got aluminum foil on the inside that's crumpled up to get a lot of points on there. Tesla was always about having a lot of points for collecting energy. The circuit over here, I have a simple circuit, a coil, ground rod. I got a second ground rod. It goes back behind my lab. And right now, we're getting just over 50 volts. So it's electromagnetic radiation. I say most of it is coming from the cosmos. I built a new collector, and I'm gonna try that soon. This would be equivalent to Tesla's patent on apparatus for the utilization of radiant energy. So I'm really excited to try this out.
You know, a lot of times I do an experiment just because I have to see it. Even though science already tells me exactly what's going on and this and that, that's not good enough for me. I think, well, I feel there might be missing something or some details. So that's why I did the levitating coil. I said, there's something about that yet. I'm not sure if they have the explanation of that 100% correct.
Tesla was a really weird dude. He was very quirky.
Tesla was a bit of a cleanliness nut, and he was a bit of an obsessive compulsive.
He used to use napkins, like a big stack of napkins, when he would have dinner, and he would wipe the utensil after every use or before every use, and he was very paranoid about germs and things like that.
He would circle the block 3 times before he got in. He didn't want to touch women's hair. He didn't like pearl earrings. He had a lot of quirks.
Or maybe having an overactive imagination. Maybe that's how you get that way.
So I'm sure it was a combination of both. Perception, that Tesla was a mad scientist, and you see that reflected in popular culture.
Total destruction will come to those who laughed at me and failed to heed my warnings.
You know, the first Superman movie cartoon had a villain named Tesla who had this electro-euthanasia ray or something, some crazy name, and it was based on his inventions of developing a death ray for the U.S. military, which there's a lot of conspiracy behind that.
I think what I like about him the most is that he was an altruist. He was really trying to help the world.
Tesla was world famous in the 1890s. Everybody knew who Tesla was, but his name slowly disappeared from the history books, and he became an unknown figure.
Tesla hasn't become a household name because he just never really was a guy who put effort into promoting his own work. So up until recently, his own name and branding just wasn't on anything.
Elon Musk, who started PayPal, who now has SpaceX, created Tesla Motors. Why did he name it Tesla Motors? Because he's paying homage to Tesla.
You know, there's the fact that the car itself and the motor in the car is based on an AC induction motor design that is what Tesla patented and came up with. Technically a reason to call it Tesla Motors, but I think the other reason is just simply because they're trying to do something that people didn't believe could be possible, and they're going against the mainstream. I think we should remember Tesla as the man who brought us into lightness. We really were living in the dark before.
Since the 50s, people have been trying to make diamond work for electronics, and Adam has come across the way to actually make the diamond work for electronics.
It's not something new. We're actually taking the existing silicon technology, incorporating diamond on it to make it more efficient. My big claim to fame was enabling what's called N-type diamond, so that adding atoms to make diamond actually more electrically conductive, even as compared to silicon. And that's good for electronics purposes because we can make one continuous large sheet, very similar to what's being done with silicon electronics. Is my technology going to change the way that we interact in our lives? I would say absolutely, because the reason I'm in my field, semiconductor technology, is because semiconductor technology is ubiquitous. It's found everywhere in our lives, from our airplanes to our healthcare equipment, to our coffee makers, to our automobiles. Definitely, I would say this would be transformative.
The diamond semiconductor is actually the next big step. He's emerging on the scene at the right time, where a lot of the electronic devices we have become so miniaturized, they're bumping up against the physical limits of what silicon is capable of.
The minute he told me my iPhone wouldn't overheat anymore, I was in. I was sold. Silicon's been around for 50 years. You can see, you don't have to be a scientist to see that it's reaching the end of its useful life. So when he talks about diamonds replacing the silicon, everybody can understand that. And to have his worldwide headquarters in Gurnee is just a fantastic win-win all the way around.
Nanoleaf was founded by myself and two of my best friends. We all went to the University of Toronto, and we were part of the solar car team. The three of us were actually in charge of developing a lot of the electronics behind that car. About 7 or 8 years later, we decided to get back together and take some of the skills and knowledge that we gained from the solar car team and apply it towards real-world products. And we started off building a solar product. It was a portable solar device. It had a little screen on it. You could plug in laptops, cell phones, TVs, and it was an amazing product. And we wanted to find a way to bring that to market. And we had no idea who to sell this product to. So we thought, well, then let's just keep building, right? Let's add a light bulb to go with it. And then you could have a house that's fully powered by this little system. And as we went further in developing this light bulb, we realized that we had created the world's most energy efficient light bulb. So this is our very first product, the Nanoleaf 1. The part that we find to be the most unique aspect of it, certainly the part that we care the most about, is the energy efficiency aspect of it. We custom design all the circuitry within this product. So a typical LED bulb has a power supply, and the power supply, it needs to convert the AC power that's coming in into DC power. We were able to create an AC to DC converter that's about 95% efficient, whereas most LED light bulbs out there are only at about 75 to 80% efficient.
Of course, if you reduce the consumption of electricity, you reduce the production of greenhouse gases, which, as we know, is the main cause of global warming. Artificial lighting is the first human invention. It was made 2 million years ago, and we're working in that tradition.
Lighting hasn't changed, or it didn't change for 100 years after Edison developed the first mass market incandescent light bulb. I see them taking an existing technology and packaging it in a different way, which is what Edison excelled at. The fact that they've got this new laser approach that allows them to cut circuit boards and shape them in an origami fashion to make light bulbs really fits with that whole trend of having technology that looks nice. The products it's coming out with, it's exploiting the versatility of LEDs to make the technology attractive.
In a lot of ways, Nanoleaf is very similar to back when Tesla was doing his innovations. On a daily basis, we're trying out new ideas and ways that we could actually make changes to some of the products that we have in the world today. Some of those ideas are completely outrageous, but some of them are amazing and could lead to really long-term products that could make a big impact. You know, I think having that creative team, you know, that outside-of-the-box thinking, 9 out of the 10 ideas are going to be bad, but one of them will just be completely gold. In order to invent something that is completely new, you have to forget about, you know, what's normal to you. And you got to think about, you know, what could the world be and would that be better? For example, with light, it's like we see the world under a certain type of light. The whole concept of a light bulb, for example, right? Like, hey, a light bulb should look like this. Why? Because an incandescent light bulb looked like this. You know, that's what we've gotten used to over the last 100 years. But why does it need to look like this? Why can't it be different?
Having a true breakthrough is really going to be some black swan that comes out of nowhere and is not going to be based on existing technology. It's going to be a company coming out with a light bulb based on a technology that we've never heard of.
Tesla was born in Smiljan, which is a town in Croatia. Tesla came to New York in 1884, and he worked for Tom Edison. And he had this great invention, the ability to harness alternating current.
It was a significant advance because at the time, the main technology was direct current, and that was what Thomas Edison was working on. With alternating current, the way it was designed, you could actually transmit power over vast distances.
Edison didn't want to hear anything about it, and then there was what was known as the Battle of the Currents. Edison was in a war, and he literally began to electrocute cats and dogs and even an elephant with alternating current to show that the Tesla system was dangerous and that his system was safe. So Tesla thought, how can I combat this terrible PR situation? So he began to experiment about sending electricity through his body. I think here's where you see his great genius. He's figuring out how to send electricity through his body to show that it can be done safely. And so he began to win the PR campaign and then actually won the right to harness Niagara Falls. So after the War of the Currents was over, everybody knew who Tesla was.
He's really unique to his times. He saw the big picture in the sense of problems that needed to be solved. People who may be just as brilliant as Tesla today may not, have the same kind of support that he had. There's a lot less patience in the financial community for investing in things that will take a long time. There's a desire for quick payback, so nobody really wants to wait it out to see if that person that they're investing in is going to be or have the impact of a Nikola Tesla.
An inventor is somebody who thinks about something that may not have existed before and brings it into being. I always imagined that you would have an idea and you would then be able to follow it, create it, and galvanize people around you if it was a good idea to bring it to life and make it happen, because they all thought it was a good idea too. I went into neurosciences through university, and when I came out, my research lab work that previously had been in mice now started moving into the brain. My own experience with psychotherapy and wanting to help people understand their mind and improve their life led to this device. This is Muse, the brain sensing headband. And what it does is it tracks your brain activity in real time and gives you real-time feedback to let you know when you're in a state of focused attention, i.e. when you're meditating, and when your mind is wandering. So it tracks your EEG with clinical grade sensors. It sends that data to your smartphone or tablet, and then is able to parse your brain activity based on an algorithm that we created from thousands and thousands of data sets that we gathered of meditators from around the world. Now Muse is used in the Mayo Clinic with breast cancer sufferers to help them deal with the stress of surgery and actually improve their recovery times afterwards. It's being used with Harvard and Spalding Rehab for traumatic brain injury. NYU uses it for educational purposes. We keep finding these extraordinary uses where other people have taken the tool and are applying it to, autism, epilepsy, ADHD, disease states across the board.
When we look at this signal here, this is what Muse is measuring. We see all of these huge waveforms. It is actually indicative of your brain state. I think Tesla was an inventor that really opened himself up to possibility in an unconstrained way. And I think when you do that, you end up imagining a world that could be a whole lot different than what you're in.
So very different than Tesla, I was lucky to be in an environment in which the things that I was thinking of and created were always accepted. I haven't had to, deal with the ostracization, with the hardship. From a business perspective, the businesses that we've created around this technology have always been very successful. I've raised $18 million to date from venture-funded, from venture firms that have supported what we are creating and bringing to the world. Our very first product is in Best Buy. That's about as mainstream as you get.
What began as a quest to help a dying friend has evolved into a first-of-its-kind luminary marvel. The collector weighs more than 30 tons and collects more light than any telescope on Earth.
The origins of the Moonlight Collector have maybe started when I was 7 or 8 years old, when I built my first little telescope. And then when I was a teenager, I built quite a large one. So I was always into astronomy, and optics, and telescopes. It was an amazing process, 75 different prototypes from beginning to end to build this huge 84 mirror collector.
I think that it was probably one of the most difficult things we ever did in our life and the most meaningful. The stimulus that created the invention of the interstellar light collector and now the Moonlight Collector was a friend dying of pancreatic cancer. She came to us and she said, "Richard, you think outside the box. You're not a scientist, you're not a doctor, but they're telling me right now, I have no hope on this earth. I have no chance to survive this." And immediately, Connie set Richard in motion to try to figure out a cure of some sort.
I studied light and light therapy for many months.
And he said the frequency coming off of moonlight was similar to what the American Medical Association was studying to cure cancer.
The light of the moon and the stars cannot be duplicated artificially.
We have cells in our body that respond to moonlight. All of us do.
First of all, moonlight is not just reflected sunlight. Moonlight has its own spectrum.
It was pretty exciting. It was like something out of a science fiction movie, really. When I learned that they were collecting moonlight and concentrating it, that intrigued me because it's a form of subtle energy, and it's a form of basic energy in the universe that the sun produces both left-handed and right-handed torsion, and the moon's reflected light is more left-handed. So it might well have some healing properties. So that was the first thing that got my attention.
This thing has blossomed into this huge project.
It's kind of funny, that was about a 2.5-year process.
Mortgaging house and mortgaging a lot in our life, we finally built the Interstellar Light Collector, which is 84 of those 8-foot by 4-foot mirrors. Connie passed away, but Connie's spirit did not pass away. Everything that we did at that point forward had to be that we had to find an answer. Richard just finally said, "Perfect or not, we're opening it." And the press showed up and all these people showed up. It was a blow your mind moment for everyone.
So I was invited out to this thing and it just seemed like a bunch of hippies in the desert, and I had all my projections about it and thought it was such a woo-woo out there and quite frankly stupid thing. And when I got there, there were probably about 100 people there. It was massive. It was like, it looked like it was half the size of a football field in this huge pit out in the desert. And it was aimed at the moon, and the light would come down and shine on this point where it looked like car headlights, like bright, bright headlights were shining on these people that were in this little box thing.
Tesla was an influence with the Moonlight Collector, especially with this free energy concept. And here's light energy just pouring down that no one is utilizing.
There are some things that happen in our world that our present science doesn't teach us in our textbooks, and yet they occur.
Well, I go back to some of the early writings of Tesla and some of the early newspaper clippings where he would do this ritual thing where he'd meet with members of the media and talk about, what we're going to have in the future, and the journalists would eat it up. He came up with ideas for extracting heat from the ocean and using that as a way to generate electricity. These are inventions that never really came to fruition during his day, but are coming to fruition today.
Tesla's advanced ideas play a big role in what is now called the Higgs boson, or the God particle, the particle that gives matter its mass. So that's one of the reasons why I think Tesla is so interesting, because even though he's got all these great inventions, he still has other ideas that physicists can look at today.
If these phenomena happen and our present science does not understand it, is there some force that we're leaving out of our present science? And the answer is yes.
I'd like to tell the whole world about Tesla and, the things he was doing. I mean, it's talking about unmanned submarines and airplanes. I mean, we're just now doing that now. It's like, why didn't they listen to him? Why didn't they buy this stuff or develop it then? That's what I want to do. Give people what he wasn't able to give them, or, you know, what got taken away from everybody.
These plates will be collecting, well, I hope a lot of electromagnetic radiation from the air and transforming it again into usable energy. A lot of people say it's coming from satellites, cell phones, radio. I should be able to get a lot more energy from this collector now than I was able to get with my old collector, which was basically the upside-down lamp with a bunch of aluminum foil in it. 56 volts, 57 volts, 58, 59, 60. Like the mad scientist. Oh, 63, 64, 65.
That's the way Tesla wanted it, things, wireless. You know, the only reason for the plugs is so they could monitor how much to charge us. And it should be free, like air and water.
80 volts? I think we could finally get some power out of this.
There's no end to ideas out there of like taking energy from the earth or the air, or even vibrations, harvesting it through other means. That's possible. There's lots of ways to do that. The problem is, how are you going to do it in a way that can be done on mass scale and in a way that's economical?
The results are what counts, and that's really what I'm all about. Look at the results, and that's what we need to go by.
I figured it's just moonlight, can't hurt, you know, it's probably not gonna do anything, but it'll be cool. And so I went in there, and it was almost like swimming underwater. Just love that feeling, and that's kind of what it was like. It was kind of calm, but also kind of euphoric. It felt almost spiritual, but also like a physical thing, you know, like I just relaxed and I could breathe more easily.
Wow, what an experience.
This was a moment where you could stare at what I call the most heavenly light. I don't even know, it's like going into the light. When people talk about that, that's what being in the moonlight feels like.
So I've had chronic severe asthma since I was 17. And I went in the Moonlight Collector for 2.5 minutes the first time, and within a month, I recognized that I wasn't having any asthma attacks at all. So I started volunteering every night they had a moonlight event. Lots and lots of moonlight. And I haven't had an asthma attack now in almost a decade.
Once it was built and people started having experiences in the moonlight, Monica had asked me to follow up with them to see what effects they had been experiencing from a nurse's standpoint. This was born of an idea to help people and heal people. And what I saw was that it was doing that. It wasn't doing that for everyone, but there were some very profound experiences that, as a nurse, I found fascinating.
Really well-known doctors were coming in from all over to do research there, and we were doing research with seeds, and we're doing these crazy things with the geology and earth sciences department at the university, and finding just mind-blowing stuff that it literally changed the crystalline structure of quartz crystals. Nobody knew why it was working, but everybody agreed that something profound was happening.
It's like a lot of things with subtle energy. Our Western science doesn't really know how to measure these effects very well. But I think that as we get better at measuring them, we're going to find more and more that there are measurable effects.
This is the beginning of a whole new way of seeing things.
I was having tea one afternoon and I got the phone call from Monica that a microburst, an extremely powerful and contained small windstorm during our summer monsoons here, had destroyed the Moonlight Collector. The way microbursts work is they're very focused and they're narrow and they hit just one small area. It looked like about half of the array had just blown off and was crumpled in this mass, like an airplane that had crashed or something. I think we all just assumed that we were on the cusp of greater things, and that just brought it to an instant halt. It was a real tragedy. It felt hopeless.
It's fluctuating a little bit, though. Now it's 46. What the heck? 45. So, we now got just over 60 volts, but now it's gone back down. 44. See, something's happened.
Oh, there's so many times that I've got finished with a day and I was just kind of depressed, you know, day after day of not having the right results that I'm looking for. But I would always tell myself and walk away with a smile. I'd say, you know, it doesn't matter. I just learned another way not to do it.
If we look at Tesla's life in terms of his relationship to corporate America, his invention of the hydroelectric power system was hugely beneficial to J.P. Morgan, General Electric, Westinghouse. They made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars because they were providing power to all the homes and all the factories in the world. Tesla's next system was a wireless system where he said he could transmit energy by means of wireless.
He had this vision of a layer of the atmosphere transmitting electricity in high voltages around the world, where we just simply tap into it.
He's trying to get the money to complete this great vision of Wardenclyffe, this wireless tower. Tesla sought the greatest financier of the day to fund Wardenclyffe, J.P. Morgan, and he was going to build a world communications city. He got $150,000 from Morgan, and he got a tract of land out on Long Island. The tower, it was an amazing construction. It was 180 feet to the top, but it was also 120 feet down into the earth. And he had earth grippers, which went out like this. So he was going to shake the earth in a sense, and then find the impulse of the resonant frequency of the earth and use that as a carrier wave. And Morgan won't give him any more than $150,000.
And he found out that Tesla wanted to give everybody free energy, and he was supposed to be really working on his radio signals through the air, which he was too, so he wasn't lying.
Tesla said, can't we get beyond the contract? I'm going to advance the world a century. A person in America will be talking to a person in Australia as if it's across a table. I'm going to get global world peace through my communication system, and you're worried about another $50,000 or $75,000?
But he had some other alternate motives to give everybody free energy, and when J.P. Morgan found out about this, he withdrew his funding right away.
That system definitely threatened the corporate structure.
He had this longer-term vision, but he didn't have the money to do it, so he relied on people like J.P. Morgan, who didn't, in the end, have the patience, and they pulled the money, and that left Tesla crushed. We are making progress on wireless transmission of technology at very targeted distances. Right now, we know our electric toothbrush can be put into a stand, and there's like a wireless power connection that exists today. So we're getting there. It's not the same type of power transmission that Tesla talked about, but I think that a lot of those people, if you look back, are inspired by his idea that power can be delivered through the air.
One part of Tesla influencing our course is that one part of his life is very much a cautionary tale. Tesla was very brilliant in terms of the research, very brilliant in understanding that I'm doing something fundamental, but protecting the ideas for the application of the research. That was very much a learning moment. We have to make sure we're secure in the patents, make sure we're secure in the execution, make sure we're secure in whom we're working with.
So Adam's very charismatic, where he's working with the investors, with media, with everyone to say, look at the importance of this technology, as well as he helps out kids in high school and elementary to teach them, to say, hey, look, when you do things, when you work hard and you come up with something, this is how you move forward.
Well, yeah, when I started, I was actually 19 when I started my work in the diamonds, so not much older than you guys.
They're thrilled, and they need those role models. Now they can actually see the results of the education and the hard work.
He's interested in doing something that obviously betters technology, and his idea is absolutely that. But what comes out and is at his very core is he wants to better his community, the people that live around him, the people that he knows, and he wants to give back.
There's a lot of technology developed in the Midwest that ends up moving to other high-tech areas such as Silicon Valley. Everyone knows about Silicon Valley. Well, that's great. So we got to have, an acronym that people really understand what we're trying to get accomplished here. So Diamond Prairie.
I think Diamond Prairie is very fitting. We are the Prairie State, and when you kind of hear the story of Silicon Valley, which was nothing more than an orange grove until the first company went there, and it took off, and it's in a valley, so it became Silicon Valley. We thought Diamond Prairie was couldn't absolutely come up with a better name.
This is the Diamond Prairie. Moving forward, this will grow. And from here, the entire world will experience a diamond age. That's very, very exciting.
And Intel might come out and say that we've squeezed more ability out of silicon. Well, we don't need to go diamond. We can delay it for another 10 or 20 years. And delay is the enemy of innovation because ultimately you run out of money. It's a matter of whether he has the right timing and whether he can prove to the world that his approach is better. Finding people that are truly going to take a chance on something is more and more difficult these days. It's just really different times. We could benefit from having a Nikola Tesla today. I just don't think we would spot him. Think about Nikola Tesla approaching a modern-day investor. I have an idea that is going to dramatically change the world and requires an overhaul of existing infrastructure. They're going to say, too capital intensive, that's not our game. He would be going nuts, trying to get his ideas out there, and he would be writing books and maybe have a personal blog where he's like, no one is paying attention to me.
So after the Moonlight Collector was destroyed, I think we all had to go through a grieving process. It wasn't quite a year, though, when they got another one of those epiphanies. What if we make a smaller version?
This is a small portable duplicate of the big one, only 31 inches by 41 inches with 84 mirrors.
And now we have one that's almost a facsimile of the original, except much, much smaller. It can fit in your backyard and you can roll it around. And we're finding similar things happening. So I'm really excited to see what happens. And we have measurable, quantifiable results with water. The sky's the limit now.
Well, yeah, I think the bigger mission of the Moonlight Collector is totally to have this everywhere on the Earth. We're guardians of it. That's what we feel. On a spiritual level, this had to be built. And I'll be honest, even if it hadn't succeeded, and I know it has, I would feel proud to say that I tried,
You know, Tesla has influenced my work in a way that persistence and dedication has been really the way to get things done. I am sure that he would love it, and I'm sure that he would embrace it and really put it to good use, because there are so many uses that have not been discovered yet. It's crazy in a sense that how can you even utilize this? But isn't it crazy to not utilize it?
At the turn of the century, he felt he had received pulse frequencies from outer space. The UFO crowd attached themselves to Tesla, and he became a cult figure. He announced a new amazing invention, like a way to communicate with other planets or a way to harness cosmic energy, and he never explained these inventions, and so he began to be looked at as a quirk. I kind of think that we should study these, because I think that if he said he could do something, my guess is that he could. He didn't mean that he would communicate with extraterrestrials. He meant he could send impulses to nearby planets. And then there was that idea that was made into the movie The Man Who Fell to Earth, starred David Bowie.
Is this a weapon?
A weapon?
It's too small for interplanetary travel.
This movie about an extraterrestrial coming to the Earth to give us all these inventions was a takeoff on Tesla's life. They fictionalized it. And that's why Bowie played Tesla again in The Prestige 30 years later.
So, this is the great Denton. Mr. Ellie has effused about your acting on any number of occasions.
There's conspiracy theories that when he died, you know, his apartment was searched and all these documents were taken, and there's people who follow Tesla and his life and are trying to get their hands on these documents to prove that there was some kind of conspiracy and that he was working on something much grander.
And I don't really know for sure, but I have a feeling that some of his most important secret papers are still locked away in military intelligence here in the United States.
Suddenly his story has become sexy. For good reason. Tesla went through his life being doubted. There's naysayers, there's people telling him what you're doing can't be done. And in the end, it might have taken, a decade, it might have taken several decades, but in the end, he proved a lot of people wrong. And I come back to a quote I used in my book saying that there's nothing like the passage of time to make the smartest people in the world look like idiots. And Tesla had that ability to make a lot of people look like idiots with the passage of time. If you look at the accomplishments Tesla made, we have it all around us. I want to tell the world that these people, if you consider them mad like Tesla was mad or perceived as being mad, that's a good thing. Some of these people might not be successful, but even if just one of those people turns out to be the next generation Tesla, you can imagine the benefits that would bring to the world. So I want more people who are mad like Tesla.
At any given time, there's about like 7 or 8 different crazy project ideas that even though they might not ever see the light of day, but we're like, hey, you know what, let's try it out. Let's see where this goes. Before we say no to it, let's just create a prototype and see if it's actually feasible.
This would be the active part of the electronics, and this is essentially just what holds it, right? If I can inspire somebody to develop the next generation of technology or to see my small successes in my field and apply it for another critical need for humanity, I mean, that's really great for me. That's exciting.
There's always more world to explore, so I'm so curious about the next generation of inventors who are going to come after us to create things that we could not possibly even conceive of sitting here. Can't wait to see what it's going to be.
Every day, I learn something new. And step by step, I'm going to change the world as Tesla would have wanted it.